So today I'm back over here at Longleaf Flatwoods Reserve, and my feet are wet. I'm standing in the middle of what's known as a cypress dome community. So how do I know this is a cypress dome community, and what makes it a cypress dome community? Well, for starters, the cypress tree is a big giveaway, and as you can see, this overstory in the cypress dome is completely dominated by cypress trees. And cypress trees, as you know, and as we've probably mentioned in previous lectures, can live a very long time. They can live more than 400 or 500 years, and they typically grow in these areas of hydric conditions. Something else to take note of: why are there cypress trees here? Why aren't there cypress trees in the flatwood communities? Well, part of that has to do with what's underneath my feet, and that's the soil. So the soil here in cypress dome communities are part of a soil series known as histosols. And histosols are basically a big element of histosols is the fact that they have a large accumulation of organic matter. And that organic matter is usually very thick and black, and that's been accumulating for thousands of years. And part of the reason for that accumulation is on the landscape, we sit on a slight pitch. So these cypress dome communities typically occur in these shallow depressions on the landscape, and that allows for water accumulation to occur through rainfall. Something else to take note of is there's typically a clay layer that's beneath that allows for water to retain in cypress dome communities for longer periods. But keep in mind that these water levels can vary throughout the year. And something to kind of take note of is you can really tell how much variation there is in the rain in water levels in these cypress dome communities by these watermarks on the cypress trees and on other trees out here. And that's just the presence of where you start seeing mosses and lichens, and where there's no mosses and lichens. And so something else to take note of that you can see out here is the understory. So the understory is also very responsive to those seasonal precipitation and hydric conditions that can affect what grows throughout the year. So during rainier times of the year, you're going to see what we're seeing today. You're going to see a lot of witchgrass. You might see some Utricularia blooming, which is bladderwort, carnivorous plant. You might also see some dollarweed and things like that. That's another hydric species. And then during drier times of the year, you might see road grass and things that it might just be a big green carpet of grass in here. And I have some photos I can show you of these times of the year when it's really dry. Something else to take note of, and this is really another thing that makes a cypress dome community, is cypress dome communities, they occur again in this matrix, this community matrix that's dominated by other communities that undergo fire disturbances. So flatwood communities is a good example, upland pine communities. And so if we were to take a walk not a few thousand yards, we would find a flatwoods community. And this cypress dome is not immune to that fire disturbance or that fire regime. In the past, you would have had fires that would have came through cypress dome communities, and that would have been something that would have maintained these communities in the past. Something that has happened, and what I'll show you in these next few videos, is cypress dome communities can look very different depending on where you're at and depending on the management that's there and prior land use histories. So let's go take a look at some of those other cypress dome examples, and let's keep our feet wet. Hey there everyone, so we're back over here at Longley Flatwoods Reserve. We're in another cypress dome. My feet are wet once again, and what's really unique about this cypress dome that I wanted to show everyone was there is a total different structure to the understory and the midstory. As you can see, it is much more open than the previous cypress domes we were in, and something to really take note of here, which is quite different. Might throw you for a loop if you ever come out to an area and see something like this, is that dome feature of this cypress dome is missing. There is not a very old cohort in the middle of the dome. There's a young cohort of cypress trees that are regenerating. And why is that? Well, we talked about it a little bit in the previous video, where a lot of different uses of these areas in the past have occurred. You had silvicultural operations occurring across Florida and the southeast, and some of these areas were previously cut over. So that's one explanation of why this is. But something else to kind of take note of here, aside from that overstory, is again, it is open, and we are in August of the year 2020, and the water levels in these cypress domes can change very rapidly. These are tied to rain events that are flooding from outside of the cypress dome. And something else to take note of is, as we're walking out of the cypress dome, we're transitioning very quickly. We're transitioning into multiple different ecotones that are going on that you could consider as part of the cypress dome community. Depending on where you go in the state, cypress domes can look quite different. Their understories can look quite different in terms of the species composition, but this gradual change that we're seeing now, and you can really start to see it now, where we're transitioning into all of the cinnamon fern, and then in the distance, all those black sticks that you see is gallberry. And that would be a hard, if we were out here less than a month ago, that would have been an obstacle that we would not have been able to walk through, all that gallberry. But now, after a fire that occurred here on this property, it was probably less than a month ago, you can already see just the regeneration that's occurring. And again, that transition area where once you get past those gallberries and this cinnamon fern, now we're quickly transitioning back into a flatwoods matrix. And as a result of just decades and decades of fire suppression, these transition areas can change quite dramatically. And I hope this area is a good illustration of that for everyone, that they can see. And this is, again, a really unique situation that we're in. We're in this place where we can walk into a cypress dome. And a lot of other places in Florida, especially up here in North Florida, aren't like that. So let's go check out another one here in a minute. Hey there everyone, so we've walked over to another cypress dome community, and as you can see, my feet are dry, unfortunately, and that's because there is this wall of shrubs, and a thicket of shrubs, you could say, that's preventing me from making it anywhere close to the middle of the cypress dome community. Why is there this wall of shrubs? Why is this site so much different than the other cypress dome sites that we've seen today? Well, the biggest thing among the many things that influence all this is fire. Like many natural communities in Florida, fire is fundamental even to flatwoods or even to cypress dome sites that have these hydric periods. This wall of shrubs is the result of many decades of fire suppression. And something else to think about when you have this accumulation of shrubs along the edge like this can affect how much water ends up making it into the middle of that cypress dome. So that can affect the community structure in the middle of that cypress dome. Something else to take note of with this particular cypress dome is the cohort of cypress trees is younger, which is different than that first site that we visited, which was much older. And this is indicative sign of logging or other land use histories in the past. And as you can see, each of these cypress dome communities can vary quite substantially in their structure, the understory that's present. And this is just within one site in North Florida. And if anyone is out there that's near Gainesville and you guys are looking for something to do during the day, come take a trip out to Longleaf Flatwoods Reserve. It's a great place. It is wonderfully well managed by the St. Johns Water Management District. And yeah, get your feet wet into some cypress domes.